Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Well, hey everybody, welcome back to Giga Texas. It's Wednesday, the 27th of March, 2024, and just a few days left until the end of the first quarter for 2024. It's hard to believe. And I know that Giga Texas, at least, is trying their best to get as many vehicles out to customers as possible. Now, before I go into a couple of highlights from today, I just want to show you that yesterday I was able to stop by here on the way to a different photo shoot, and I had my Cybertruck. So it was a bit of a homecoming for my Cybertruck, having been built here just about 3.5 weeks ago. So pretty cool that it had a chance to come back and spend a moment here at Giga Texas. Now for today, a couple of big changes and developments that I want to talk about. First, on the west side at the end of line facility, we get a good chance now to get a feel for the flow of how the vehicles will be going through that facility. On the north end, we can see that the Cybertrucks are lining up and getting sprayed off as kind of a cleaning before they enter the north part of the building. They also have several of the Cybertrucks stored on the east side, and on the west side, we see that the test track is now being used by the Cybertrucks. I saw several of them going through that area and also captured some of the activity on the video, which you'll see a little later. On the south end, the superchargers are also full with Cybertrucks, and of course in the outbound lot, we see a lot more Cybertrucks as well, and many other Model Ys too. So production for both is really moving along well. Now also on the west side, the boring tunnel, it looks like the Proofrock 3 has done at least some test drilling, because we can see some of the dirt right at the drill head has been displaced. And on my previous video, we saw some of the workers doing some work on that drill head. And we can also see with a couple of these other images some of the other activity around where the boring tunnel is being prepared for that operation to begin. Now switching over to the other side of the highway on the south end, one of the biggest developments is that more steel erection is now happening on the east side near those 4 large tanks. We can see columns and beams starting to be assembled, abutting up to the southeast corner of the original building, and that's going to build out this section of the structure. The work here also seems to have disrupted to some degree some of the Cybertruck flow out of the end of line at the end of the original building and through this construction site. And you can see with this image here where the Cybertrucks are kind of bunching up, and then they're being driven underneath the new steel structure and out on that new southeast corner of that new structure. So a little bit of a change on that as well. On the east side of casting, where we see even more of those screw type piers being installed, and we see more cross cutting or saw cutting of some of the concrete in the northern area by that area where the screw type piers are being put in. Now, I've had some viewers on my previous video say that they thought that the screw type pier work was completed. However, as you can see by these images, that is not true. They continue to expand, and I saw another truck arriving with even more for that area. So there's still a lot of work to be done to prepare this section for expansion. So as I mentioned, a lot of other things I do want to show you in the video today. As always, thank you very much for your support and for watching along with what is going on with Giga Texas. So I hope you have a great week. Take care.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. one of the last chilly days here at Giga Texas as we move into spring, and there's still a lot of activity to see despite the chilly conditions. Now, the intersection here on the bottom center of the screen where Robotic Avenue and River Road come together continues to have some of the work done. We can also see many of the materials being stored here on the east side, particularly those steel corrugated pipes for underground water management system. And I'm going to zoom in here, give you a good view of activity continuing to finish up the multi-level parking garage. We're going to see 2 double T panels being lifted, one by each crane, and these form essentially the floors of each of the 7 floors for the structure. And as you can tell, there's 2 in progress right now. The building is just about 5 or 4 sections away from reaching its maximum extent. And then they'll finish up with the exterior treatment, and then there'll be a lot of concrete work to finish up each of the floors. But this is a good view of those 2 double T's being positioned for installation. As we continue to fly along the north end of the multi-level parking garage, we can see some welding action that was going on. This entire section has had all the concrete with this ramp, and otherwise continued great progress on this structure. As we fly towards the south along the east side of the stamping machine structure, I want to show you the changes that are going on here on the south end. We see some excavation work underneath the power lines. As I zoom in next to the 4 tanks, we see the steel beams and columns being erected here in this southeast corner, right abutting against the original wall. And you can also see where the column is on the far right in front of what used to be a roll-up door, that door is being replaced. Inside the stamping 2, you can see flashing lights. Those are Cybertrucks lining up, just getting ready to exit the building. We see the crates with all of the glass on the ground here next to the southeast corner of the extension. A lot of the glass that has been installed on the southeast corner and the south end, and a lot of the roof work that is underway. And we can see more of that roof decking and floor decking being installed here on the southeast corner. So bring the drone down at a lower altitude. It's a good view of the crates with the glass and those covered with the white tarps, devices that are used to position the glass. And as I come up over the steel, I'll give you a close-in view of how this steel assembly next to that southeast corner is going, how the tanks look, and all of the steel items on the ground waiting to be picked up and assembled into this section. As I turn the drone towards the open section here in between the original building and the new steel building on the left, I'll bring the drone down to show you a few of the details, one of which is the work on the steel assembly on that southeast corner is somewhat disrupting the Cybertruck departure from the factory. That open door is the end-of-line exit for the Cybertrucks, and they've been going through stamping 2 and then exiting on that east side, but that's somewhat being changed today. Here's a good view of the floor decking on this southwest corner and how it is progressing. Also work on the ground floor underneath this structure. You can see the workers in that excavation with a lot of rebar getting ready for concrete. And as I turn around, a good view of the concrete already completed on the second floor. More of the work with rebar and those trenches underneath on the ground floor. And of course, a good look here at the roof decking and the work that is going on here to prepare this roof for eventually insulation and the weatherproof membranes. Good view of the windows up to this point. More crews working on the mounts and the points that are painted in black here for the windows to be installed. Good view of more rebar that has been assembled, waiting for installation on the ground floor here. And then as we continue to fly towards the southwest corner, I'll bring the drone down a little lower. You can see the work that is underway in this particular excavation. And most of it is rebar work right now. There are 3 of these excavations evenly spaced on this side, the center, and on the southeast corner. and they all look like they're fairly reinforced. So I'll be interested to see what they end up installing on those sections. More welding being done at the base of some of the columns and preparation for the mounts for the windows. In addition to that, you can get a good view into this atrium area where it looks like some trenching possibly for conduit is underway in that section as well, plus additional work going on here near the perimeter grade beam on the ground floor. The opening in the perimeter grade beam is still here. This is where some think that the boring tunnel may come across. And of course, we can see that first floor mezzanine and the steel structure on that southwest corner. Good view here of the activity with the 2 temporary platforms and more of the deliveries on the ground getting ready to be picked up and moved inside. And in some cases, they're putting them onto that yard truck and moving them to different points around the site. There's about 20 Cybertrucks being stored here in this temporary lot today. And I'm going to bring the drone up. We're going to go across the highway and let's take a look at what's going on with the boring company activities. Work on the supporting infrastructure and equipment continues, but if you take a look at the Proofrock 3 cutting head at the interface where it sticks into the dirt, you can see that it has actually been turned to some degree. Some of the dirt has been displaced and it's even inside the cutting head. So that means that they've been doing some testing to make sure that it's ready for the tunneling to commence. Hopefully we'll see that soon. It's been a big delay and for various reasons, but it looks to me like we are definitely getting closer to that point where we'll start seeing the tunneling operations. So we continue to fly over the West Warehouse on wheels. I wanted to give you a good view of the continued earthwork here south of the outbound lot and the end of line facility. All of this eventually will be put in pavement and it will extend the size of the outbound lot and possibly more of that end of line facility, maybe more superchargers in that area. It's a good view of the activity and the number of cars in the outbound lot. There are a lot of Model Ys and there are also a lot of the Cybertrucks, a few on the transport truck getting ready to depart right now. As we continue to fly along this side, it almost looks like they are starting to put the Model Ys on the west side and the Cybertrucks on the east side. Not sure if that's actually the plan, but for right now today, that's what it looks like. And as you can tell, there are a lot of transport trucks picking up vehicles and moving them off site. There's a good view of the north part of this area that is getting more earthwork. That will also be paved, and that will be another extension of the outbound lot and or a parking lot for the employees, and more of that excavation work near the asphalt. Now, I wanted to show you is that some of the Cybertrucks are in fact using the test track here on the west side of the end of line. Here is one right now, and you can see a couple other ones getting ready to be lined up to come into this test track. A little later, I'll show you some more of the activity with the Cybertrucks, but it looks like they finished the test track and then they move over here to this east side. And this is where they are starting to accumulate more and more of the Cybertrucks. Some of them with the lights flashing may be getting software updates or some additional electronic work while they are waiting for transport. Here's a good view here of this south dirt section. Some of the already in place conduit and mounts for the lighting, and of course the supercharger system and how it looks today. Now all the superchargers are facing to the south, so the vehicles exit the south end of the end of line and then they go to the superchargers. In the meantime, we see the vehicles waiting for their opportunity to go through the end of line are here on the east side. And as we get farther to the north, we're going to see a change in some of the operation here, and it gives us just that sense of how the flow will be. On the north end, we can see the Cybertrucks lined up to enter the north side of the end of line. They're also taking this opportunity to use some pressure washers to clean off probably the mud on the tires and maybe the bottom parts of the Cybertruck, just because this is a large construction site. And here's a good zoom in of this activity that is going on. And right now they have one bay open. There's additional work on the other two, but soon all three of these bays will be operational. And as I bring the drone, pan it up a little, you can see all of the Cybertrucks on the left-hand side of the screen on that east holding point. So it looks like they come in on the east, go in through the north, go through the processing, exit on the south, supercharge, and then they come over to this west side for the testing track before the outbound lot. And here's a good view of a Cybertruck getting ready to go through these turnarounds. And with the tire tracks, you can see that this has definitely been used quite a bit in the last 48 hours. And just a good view of the new activity that is going on here at the end-of-line facility. So let's get ready to cross over the highway and resume the narration on that side and see what's going on there today. On my previous video, we saw these items being delivered on a truck, and I wasn't sure exactly what they were, but today they're being assembled into a ramp next to this particular door, and this is a good view of how this appears, and it will probably be lifted up to be level with the end of that load leveler and that threshold at some point. And it's possible this is where a new vehicle exit point may be, possibly for the Cybertrucks, considering all of the construction that is going on the south end that is disrupting that end of line. That'll be something we'll continue to monitor and see if my guess on that is correct. So we cross over the west main entrance. I wanted to stop here at the end of line for the Model Ys. This is very busy as well. All of these are being lined up here, some of them exiting the factory on the ramps. And when they get to a certain number, then they are driven over to the east side testing lot, where the further work continues until they are ready to move to the outbound lot. As we continue to fly north along the west side of General Assembly, I want to stop at this section, which is getting more of the concrete basically broken up by this impactor. And we can see more of the segments of the concrete have been removed. We see another wall panel section on top of that, what used to be the opening for a ramp. And of course, the stairwells have been removed as well. So continued excavation work, demolition, and reshaping of this site. And we'll have to watch and see what they end up doing with that section. As we fly north along the 4680 battery cell portion of the factory, I'm going to reposition the drone to take a look at this north end. This is where a lot of the construction is underway on the inside. They're reconfiguring and adding in capacity so that they can have eventually later this year 8 production lines for the 4680s. Now we do see some steel has been delivered on the right-hand side of the screen. On the center of the screen, we see that wall panel on top of that middle temporary platform has been removed. You can see one of those support beams and some of the interior structure. And on the ground level, underneath the tall structure, or this tall temporary platform, we see some of those crates have been moved on the inside as well. On the north end of plastics, we see some crates are being removed, and they've already had their materials taken out and installed in the inside. And then here at the north end of the paint shop, we see some deliveries of what I think is supplies for the paint shop, probably the painting process itself. On the northeast corner of casting, we see a lot of castings, some on the ground, some in racks. We also see materials being placed on this berm. This will most likely go all the way around the berm and probably will have grass or some other vegetation to help prevent the erosion that happens during the rains. Speaking of castings, you can see a lot of them stored here. Most of the ones right in the middle of the screen are front castings for the Cybertruck, although there are some rear castings in the mix as well. On the ground, we see sections of the concrete marked off in these squares. This is where saw cutting is underway, and it looks like another large section of the asphalt, the concrete apron here is about to be removed, and you can see that saw cutting just about in progress on the bottom of the screen. And I expect that it will look similar to this when they are done. And we can see all of the screw type piers being installed. More have been delivered on the left-hand side of the screen, and I saw even more coming in on trucks. It's a good view of the process of putting those screw type piers into those holes. Now, I've had some viewers say on my previous video that they thought this work was completed, but as you can see, that is continuing. They are installing many more of these screw type piers, and eventually there's probably going to be somewhere around 100 to 150 installed in this particular section once this is all completed. We can see the castings on the ground, some more of this excavation area, widening the berm next to those two towers. And then I'll continue this perspective looking down at the concrete that has been removed where these new receiving docks have been installed. And of course, this section is still waiting for final preparation so that they can put the concrete in here and then have these 8 new receiving doors operational. And as I maneuver the drone, bring it down and keep us clear of the power lines, you'll see even more of the Cybertruck castings on the ground and some of the rack mounts on the right-hand side of the screen. As we continue going south along this east side, I wanted to show you that concrete is being poured next to these 5 new receiving doors, and you can get a good sense of how that is underway. There's a pump truck. There's a couple of concrete trucks on the left-hand side of the screen. Looks like one now, but there will be another one arriving here shortly. And they provide the concrete. The pump truck puts it where the crews need it. And soon we're going to see this entire section completed, and we'll start seeing it in operation, which is great to finally see. As I pull away, I'll give you a good view of how active the testing and calibration lot is today. Superchargers are very busy. There's a great mix of Model Ys and Cybertrucks. I'm going to estimate here, but there's over 100, maybe 125 to 130 Cybertrucks just here alone, and at least that number, possibly closer to 200, 225 of the Model Ys, perhaps more of each, but basically a lot of vehicles. And this is a great indication of the production ramp, both for the Model Ys, also for the Cybertrucks. And right now, based on what I've seen over the last several days, and of course today, I'm going to now say that I think Cybertruck production is somewhere in the 900 to 1,000 per week. That would be a run rate of just around 50,000 per year at this moment in time. And I expect that to continue to ramp up. And sometime in the second quarter, we'll see a bump up in that as a second shift comes online. So I think the ramp is coming along quite nicely now. Good view of the east side where the Robotic Avenue is being extended to the south, and on the left-hand side of the screen you can see the rest of Robotic Avenue and this new intersection on the left-hand side that's being prepared for that extension. Of course, the East Warehouse on Wheels, lots of trailers here and waiting for their opportunity to be moved to the factory to unload the just-in-time materials for production. We're flying over the employee overflow lot. As you can tell, it is also full, and another reason why that multi-level parking garage is really needed and is a priority to get finished, probably by the summer. On the south end of the die shop, we see more work preparing the ground for concrete and or asphalt, plus those 2 retaining walls for that receiving door ramp. And as I bring the drone down a little bit lower, this gives you a great perspective of the work that is underway, kind of the heights of each of those small walls, and the entrance with the new doors. Looks like they maybe have been installed now. And that's just to the left of that trailer and that white truck. Looks like there's actually tables inside that section as well. As we round the corner of the alleyway looking to the north, we'll see the cathode building on the right, the die shop on the left. We see many tanks, some for water, some for nitrogen, and some vaporizers on both sides. And then as we approach into the chiller plant south end, I want to show you the work that is going on with those 4 new stainless steel tanks that have been installed. Looks like workers are doing some additional construction, or at least testing within that catchment wall around those 4 stainless steel tanks. We also see some of the manifolds and work that continues on the pipes, pumps, and heat exchangers on the roof of the chiller plant. The scaffolding against the wall of the cathode plant still is present, but I don't see any change as far as installed equipment. And this is a good view looking straight down from a bird's eye perspective of how the chiller plant looks today. And of course, that scaffolding that reaches to the roof. As we continue to fly to the north, this is a good view of this temporary loading platform with the rubbish chute and some of the work that's being done on the ground, both around the chute and on the north side of the die shop. As I bring the drone back down, here is a good view looking inside the chiller plant. And of course, the stainless steel tanks, the vaporizers, and the nitrogen tanks on the right-hand side of the screen. As I pan the drone towards the north, we get a good view of that rubbish chute, the bin, and also that temporary platform again. And as we proceed to the north, it's a good view of just how this west side of the cathode plant is about half pavement, and then the rest is ground that is being prepared for more pavement in the near future. And this is a good view of that work that is continuing, and it will extend around the west side of the die shop. Here's a good view in the northeast, clearing of the battery cathode plant. We can get a good view of some of these equipment items. That red kind of a bridge crane that has the supports in white, plus those 2 large, shiny, almost looks like tubes, but they're not quite tanks. I'm not sure exactly what they are, but these have been stored here for several months, waiting for their opportunity to be installed as well, plus more steel and other items on this northeast corner. As we approach the east side of the cathode plant, a good view of the cell test lab just going underneath the left bottom of the screen, the wade pit on the left-hand side of the screen, the amount of asphalt plus areas of dirt that's still waiting for either concrete or asphalt, and of course the crash test facility on the left with that rounded roof section. Now on the south end of the crash test facility, I wanted to give you a good view here of that kind of a dunk tank, also that large white tank, which is, I believe, the water supply for that tank, and then kind of a barrier on the south end of that tank. Now in my previous video, this was filled with water. Now it looks like it has been completely drained out. And I believe that this is being used for 1 of 2 purposes, either after crash testing if there's a battery fire, or they've been using structural packs in that water, probably testing those out for failure modes. So anyway, that's a good view of Giga Texas here on this Wednesday, kind of a rainy, cold day, hopefully the last as we enter into spring. But I hope that you enjoyed what we were able to see and talk about. And as always, thank you very much for your support. Have a great rest of the week.